All right, ladies and gentlemen, before you begin any assignment in Chapter 10, it is important that you spend some time learning, practicing, and reviewing the vocabulary that Miss Bass went through with you on the video. So you had 3 videos with 3 pages of notes that had 17 different vocabulary words on there that had to deal with a circle. So what you're looking at now is just the very first part of that. But what I suggest that you do is that, and whatever makes most sense for you, whether that is note cards, whether it's a Quizlet, whether it's taking this paper and using this paper to kind of fold over, take it out of your notebook perhaps. But what you need to be able to do is, if we have, if I say circle to you, then can you go ahead and, without looking at any of this, can you then give me the definition and the description? Can you write the example, and can you tell me how to name it? Okay, you want to be able to do that for all the components here. What I mean by that is that if I give you just this column here, the definition or the description, the set of all points in the plane at a given distance from a given point, can you then tell me that it is a circle? Can you give me an example? Can you tell me how to name it? If we keep going, if I give you this part over here and say, here is an example, can you look at this example and say, well, hey, that's a circle, and here's the definition of it. This is what we need to be able to do with all 17 of these. We need to be able to do pretty quickly and accurately, because as we go to build through this chapter, we don't want to have to keep looking back at this. So this really needs to become like second nature to us. The other thing that we need to work on is that as part of your foldable, there were 10 things to mark first. This was the very last video that Miss Bass went through. Now keep in mind that you're foldable because it's really meant to come out of your notebook and to fold over. You kind of have to look around on those pages that come before the chapter 10 notes, but it's there. We need to make sure that you are able to identify all of these things to mark first. One thing that I suggest is making a note card and putting this part on the front of the note card, and then putting this part on the back of the note card. And then if you look at the front part, that we have that all radii in a circle are congruent, that in your mind visually what you should get is this picture. And then you should practice it in reverse also. Look at this first, at the picture, and say, well, what it's showing to me is that if we have multiple radii marked off, then they're all congruent. And then flip over and make sure that you've done that correctly. Okay? All 9 of those things are going to be key and important going forward. Now, once you have gone through and you have the vocabulary embedded into your brain, and you've worked through, not just watch the video, but you have worked through and practiced these 9 things to mark first, then you are to begin your assignment. I'll be real upfront that if you just go to start into your assignment, it's probably going to look a little confusing. So we don't have a big assignment to turn into me this week, but you have a lot of practice and review on your own. This is one of those things. How will I know that you have done this? Well, immediately I won't, but once we go to start to take our summative assessments, I will know, because you will have to look things up, and then you won't have enough time to be able to find that information and to complete assignments at the same time. So these are this is our foundation to this chapter. We need to make sure that it's good and solid before we move on. So please do take time this week to commit these items to memory. Okay, now what you can do is go ahead and read the directions below this video, and that will give you the directions on what you're going to do for this assignment.